Welcome to Epic Experiences. I'm your host, Sinitra Skillern, where we encourage people and inspire communities. You may not think you have something epic to share, but everybody does. Every experience, every interaction, every relationship is epic. Welcome everybody to Epic Experiences. I'm so excited for the next chapter of this platform. Last year, if you watched us, you may have seen us if you had Spotify or however you chose to connect with us. But now in 2024, we on YouTube, baby. So I know it's nothing that's earth shattering, but it's special to me, and so I just welcome and enjoy. Act like I'm talking to you face to face. You can see me face to face, and we can kind of connect in this way. And so I'm excited for this next chapter of Epic Experiences that you continue to choose to listen and now watch me today. But as others join me in this space, that we get to connect and I get to encourage people and inspire communities time after time after time. And so today is no different. And so if you've listened to me for a while, if not, I'll reference this episode. What I'm going to talk about is a continuation from an episode I did last season that was called Unpacking My Excuses. And so today, this episode is called Still Unpacking, because it's an ongoing process, probably never ending for me. If you're human like me, once you unpack one, there's another bag sitting right there waiting for you to unpack with more stuff in it. And so today we're going to have a continuation of that episode. So if you haven't listened to it, you don't have to listen to it to understand what's happening today. But if you want to listen to it, the title of the episode was Unpacking My Excuses. So I thank you for joining me, and just buckle up for some story time and some words of wisdom and just some impactful, intentional lessons that I've learned that I hope you can connect with and hopefully apply to your own life. And so the episode that I did a while ago called Unpacking My Excuses was after I went to a women's retreat or a women's conference at my church. And so it was based in discovering some toxic traits or behaviors about yourself and kind of saying, okay, I'm no longer going to I'm not excused. I don't have any excuses anymore to be this way or to do this thing. And so from that, I have many things, as we all do, I have many things that I can lay out and say, Lord, where do I start? There's so many things, so I'll do none. But there was one aspect of my life that I decided to take a journey on, or a different take on the journey. And it was my health journey. It was my health in terms of eating and exercise and just all the choices that I had been making. And it's a journey I've been on a couple times before. And so out of that women's conference, we studied a book called The Power to Change by Craig Groeschel. Excellent book. I recommend it if you haven't read it, but I recommend that you get this book. It is, I'm still reading it and actually teaching it right now, but it is very, very impactful. And so from that conference, I was asked to teach a 6-week class. So this is a little backstory about we're kind of backing up to then go forward. And so I taught a little 6-week class at my church. And so we really kind of hit some topics in the book, kind of surface level, because 6 weeks is not a long time to either deeply read a book with a group of people or really unpack what's going on in the book. And so over those 6 weeks, we hit some really and some important facts. We got into some toxic traits that we identified. We got into how we unpack those and how we identify what they are, and then some methods and strategies to start to change them. And so in that 6 weeks, it was a good foundation to get people pointed in the right direction. And so after I taught that class, I'm like, so where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And in the last episode, I talked about how my 2 previous attempts at losing weight and keeping it off failed, like how they failed and why they failed. And what I came to realize is that they failed because I was focused on the program, whatever the program was. I was focused on a number. I was always trying to get to the number. And so in that, I never really internalized what it meant to me and how I was supposed to be. So I was focusing on the doing, but not who I was supposed to be or who I am in that. And so then it was always a game. I'm trying to run and chase this number. I'm always looking at the scale. I'm doing this program, but it wasn't me. It wasn't Sinitra. It wasn't sticking because after a while, I just gained the weight back. I put the program down and then just went back to my old habits. Went back to the things that I knew to be true about myself and just said, well, I guess I'm supposed to be this way. I guess I'm never going to be that or hit my goal or whatever. And so after that 6 week class, and it ended about summertime of 2023, I got a call and an invitation to teach the full length class. And so the full length class is 9 months long. It starts in September and ends in about May. And there's breaks, for holidays in between. But I got the invitation to teach the class or teach the whole book. And so I'm like, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to take a deep dive because I didn't get through the entire book in the 6 weeks. And it was a continuation of what I had at the women's conference, teaching the 6 week class, and now I have the opportunity to go, head first into this book and really tap into the power to change and make the change lasting. And we'll talk about like why this change is going to be lasting versus the other time. And so I'm still unpacking because I'm always a work in progress. What I learned is that I'm never going to arrive. And for some that may feel like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to feel accomplished. I'm never going to be able to say I did it, put the flagpole in the mountaintop and be like, yes, I achieved it. But it's a different perspective and mindset to recognize what change looks like and then what success looks like based on those changes. And so that's what we're really going to get into today. I do have my little notes right here because, I like to think I have it all up here, but no, I know who I am. So you're going to see my little note pages and we just going to let it live. Right. So what happened after I start teaching the class is that my husband and I decided we were going to do something called Whole 30. And if you know what that is or not, again, not sponsored, not promoted by, it's just a program where you kind of strip down your eating to the basics for 30 days. And so we had literally stripped it down to protein, fruits, vegetables. There's no starches of any kind, no rice, no whether it's processed or not. There's no starches. There's very few snacks. There's no nuts. There's no dairy, anything. And then what you do, and then you kind of get in your body just used to that type of eating. And then what you do afterwards, you start to add foods back in and see, oh, if I add in dairy, what does it do to my body? And am I going to keep it or not keep it? And then if I add bread, it's a really intentional process to kind of think about what foods work well for your body. It's very individualized. And so, bread may be amazing for some, but for me, it may, make my stomach hurt or cause inflammation because of the carbs or make my blood sugar spike or whatever. But you have to note what those things are and then decide, is it a part of my eating habit or not? And so we did that. I didn't want to do it. Full transparency. I was like, he wanted to do it. And I was like, oh, I didn't really want to do that. I just wanted to, do this thing. And so he was like, well, I'm just going to do it then. And so I came home one day and he was like, he was going to meal prep. He was going to do all these things. And I came home from work one day and I'm like, how'd it go? And he was like, oh, I ate a bag of broccoli. You ate a bag of broccoli with the, listen, no self-respecting partner, wife, whatever, is gonna let that person just eat a bag of broccoli and be like, oh, bet, I'm gonna let you run that. No. So I said, okay, let me do this with you so we can meal prep and have proper nutrition, throughout these 30 days. So I joined in and started meal prepping, and it doesn't have to be a lot of cooking, but you are eating whole foods, and so you have to make sure that you have proteins and vegetables and things like that ready. So I started meal prepping on Sundays, and then I would meal prep enough to get us to like Wednesday, and then I would cook again on Thursday, Friday. So it was a whole routine for 30 days. That was the routine and the structure that we had. So over those 30 days, I had to, kind of take note of what was happening in my body. Was there a change? If so, what was it? One thing I'm determined not to do, and some changes that I made, was not to get on the scale. I don't know what my starting weight was, and I don't know what I weighed at the end of it, or even what I weigh now. That was so not my goal. Um, and so I just went along. How do I feel? That's the question I ask myself repeatedly. How do you feel in your body? Are you sleeping well? Like all these things I would just journal and ask myself intentionally to kind of say, is this working or not? Is this right for me or not? And so at the end of the 30 days, one thing that I found that was better was this homegirl right here, my knee. If you know me personally, you know that my knee was in a shambles in 2023. So 2022 to 2023. I was going up and down stairs was excruciating. I was barely mobile. Walking was a challenge. I may look like I was doing okay, but I was in constant and consistent pain. I was getting injections in my knee that were feeling great, and then the last 2 injections just didn't even work anymore. So I got an MRI. I got just all these things, and it was related to my weight, but it was also related to the foods that I was eating, which was causing inflammation in my body, in my joints and my knees and all of that. So the one thing that I found after doing this thing for 30 days and just really eating whole foods and meal prepping and all that was the inflammation. Like I felt my ring fitting a little looser. I just felt not as heavy. And if you can kind of go with me on that, I didn't feel weighted down. Maybe it was bloated. Maybe that's the word. But I felt different. And then the pain in my knee started to subside. And so once that happened, because that was a no pun intended, a bone of contention with me was this knee right here, because it just stopped me from doing a lot of things that I wanted to do. Like, I don't know, walk. Like, walk easily and walk without, having pain, and taking, an obscene amount of ibuprofen to the point where it just probably was, I'm sure it wasn't healthy for my body. And so once I realized that change was happening, on board, 100%. I said, okay, so now I know that not having processed food, which I knew processed foods were an issue for me, just they're a trigger food for me. They, I binge eat them if I start eating them. I knew that about myself, but being intentional this go around is like, okay, I noticed that this pain in my knee was minimizing and you're not hurting as bad. It's like, okay, this is cool. Something that I knew, that I discovered about myself when I was unpacking my excuses the first time, is that I am an all or nothing girl. If I eat right and work out, they go together. If I don't work out, I'm not going to eat right. They go together. That was psychologically in my brain. That's how I was wired, and that's how I was operating. So another thing that I said I was not going to do this time, I wasn't going to work out at first. What? Right. I was intentionally not going to the gym. I was like, because in my brain and in my past circumstances, I linked them together. They had to go together. If I wasn't going to the gym, I wasn't successful. I wasn't doing the right thing, and so I wouldn't eat right. Well, if I'm not going to the gym, what's the purpose of eating right? if I'm not eating right, what's the purpose of going to the gym? It was just thinking on my part. And so I intentionally did not go to the gym. During those 30 days, I'm like not doing it. And so I found that at the end of that time, the me noticing the foods that and how they were impacting me, and how you've heard things, when you eat different foods, they do different things for the body, and you can Google and find anything to support whatever you want to do. I read an article about a popcorn diet. If you only eat popcorn, don't get me started. But you can find anything out there to support, what you want to do. But this thing here with just eating natural foods and just eating them and preparing them healthfully really did a great change for me as it pertained to mobility for me. And I was like, okay, got it. Check, done, keeping that. Not going to the gym just so that I build the habit and internalize the routine of eating well. And it can sound so simple, but for so many of us, it's not that simple. It's not like, oh, just eat this, or please don't oh just people. Don't just say, oh, all you got to do is, don't do that to people. Because we have to get to a space where we're ready and that we could recognize that, exactly, this is what works for me. Another challenge that I put for myself was, I didn't stop going out to eat. I'm like, I'm not going to stop, going out and enjoying myself. But when I went out, I was going to find a salad to have on the menu. And I eat salad for lunch at work and stuff like that. But going out, we going out to eat? I don't need no salad. I'm going out to eat. Why would I ever eat a salad at dinner? Please. Nothing about me ever said I'll have the salad. No ma'am, no sir. But this time I said, if I'm going to change and have a change that lasts, that's what I'm going to do. Because I need to make this a lifestyle. This is who I am. It's not a program that I'm doing. It's who I am. And so in that, we went out to celebrating birthdays or whatever, and I would find a salad. I would get the dressing on the side. And again, this is not earth-shattering, breaking news. But this is what I told myself that I was going to do, and I followed it. Going out to eat, and I said I would find a salad that was good, and I would try it. And I was no worse for wear. Like, nobody was saying, girl, she getting a salad. Nobody cares what you eat. And that's what you think. Like, if you do something that's going to put a spotlight, it doesn't. You order the food, you sit there, you have great conversation, you're there for the event, or you're just having dinner with a friend or lunch with a friend, and you move on with your day. And it's like something that's I'm so hyper focused on, it's not a big deal to other people. And I didn't tell anybody, now when I go out now, I'm only going to be getting salad, so don't look at me crazy. It's not about the show, which is another thing I had to minimize. I don't post about anything. I don't boast about. I'm just doing it because I'm making it who I am. And so it's not about, oh, I only eat salads, or proclaiming what I'm doing. I'm like, Sinitra, just do it. Just make the decision and follow through. And that's it. And then you, from meal to meal, make the decision and follow through. When you meal prep, what you write down that the meals are, follow it. It's a lot of work on a Sunday to, make the list, go to the store, do all the things, but you're so prepared and so ready for those days that you prepped for. And you feel better for it. So for me, the motivation was having my knee pain as of right now. 0 knee pain. Gone completely. Haven't been to the doctor since I got my MRI in December of 2022 is when I got my MRI, and they told me what's going on with my knee and everything, and I was like, I needed to make a change. And so the change took a few months to get to the change, but I'm feeling so much better. And so as I'm still unpacking this and really, remember that show Mythbusters? That's what I'm doing. I'm busting up these myths that I let take root, and this toxic behavior that I let take root in my life. And I'm like, just piece by piece, pulling it up, examining it, identifying what it is, and now how do I undo it? And it's slow, but it's sure. And so I'm not trying to, speed to the finish line and like, I got to do this in 6 months. I got to get this. I got to do for this event. I don't have to do anything with a deadline. Day by day, meal by meal. And so being intentional, understanding that it's not a race. I don't have to do it by anybody's timeline. It's literally how I operate every single day. And so some other things, remember I said I'm not getting on the scale. Still have not stepped toe on the scale at all. I refuse because it is a trap. I think I had to identify. The scale puts me in bondage where it affects my mood. If I get on the scale and I'm not at whatever this number is, now I'm like, oh, now I gotta not eat. Now I gotta, cut this out. Or now I need to play some kind of game so the scale can validate me. I'm not doing that. Nope. Again, the thoughts and opinions belong to Sanitra Skillern and Sanitra Skillern only. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm sharing out of my experience and hopefully encouraging you to start just tackling some things one by one and not taking on this insurmountable, I have to change every single thing about me tomorrow. It's a setup and a recipe for disaster and failure. And so identify those things little by little. Identify them and start to adopt and adapt the changes that are long lasting. And if you have a pitfall or a setback, because I've had several. We're going to get to talk about them in a minute. But for right now, I'm not getting on the scale. How am I tracking if this thing is working or if these continual choices are having an impact? Well, the clothes that I wear. So I have a closet, of course, but in that closet, I have clothing that I've probably never worn out of the house. Two pair of pants in particular, bought them, I don't know how many years, plural, ago. And I kept them, and every so often I put them on, and I'm like, girl, you and this muffin top are not leaving this house. Put them pants back in the closet. So even though I've gone through several closet purges over time, those pair of pants I would keep. I'm like, these are some nice slacks for work, blah, blah, blah. I'm not getting rid of them. And so here we go again, cycling around. And I was like, well, I'll pull them out. Why not? I know they're not going to fit. They haven't fit the last 3-4 times I pulled them out the closet, but whatever. So I pull them out, look at them. I'm like, just go through the motions, Sanitra, and then you can put them back in the closet and keep pushing. And I put them on, and they buttoned up, zipped up, and there was no muffin top. Now, y'all can see me now. Nowhere is, am I a, thin twig, whatever. But in relationship to myself, those pants fit. I almost fell out. I said, is this real? Like, in my brain, I wasn't, even though I had already told myself it wasn't going to be. But then when it was, when I put the pants on and they buttoned and zipped, and it wasn't the usual, these too tight, they can't, or I'm like, to get them on, that whole deal. I wasn't doing that either. I put them on, zipped them up, and I was like, I am wearing these to work today. And again, I didn't go to work and be like, I've never worn these out the house. None of that. I just wore the pants and felt amazing all day because I knew that the healthful choices I was making, decisions I was making, and knowing what foods serve me well was showing results. And I left it at that. I didn't, and it was tempting. It was tempting to just boast about it and talk about it and share. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's 100% not. I'm sharing it with you right now. It's not a bad thing. But in my past experiences, what I've done is it's been about that. Let me fit into these pants so that I can say, let me do this thing so that I can blah, 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 blah. As opposed to, I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do for my body. My body thanks me. This temple that God has given me is thankful that I'm treating it well. And that has to be satisfactory to my soul. And so that's what I'm learning how to walk in right now. Not about the external gratification of good job and oh girl, I see you and this, that, and the fourth. No. It's about knowing that God calls this his temple and that I'm treating it well. And I'm making that decision majority of the time. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like we own a cloud of rainbows and unicorns and all goodness. I'm going to talk about the pitfalls and the challenges that have happened along the way as well. Because in this still unpacking my excuses, in this examination of how do I continuously make these decisions that serve me well, there's temptation. And there's just good old-fashioned things that I like. And so once we got around to the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and my husband and I both decided that we were not, even though we were going we were going to Thanksgiving dinner at a family's home, one of my family members' house. We were going to have a small meal at home. We were not going to cook, goo gobs of, you always have 2 tons of food at home around the holidays. And so we decided what we were going to cook, how much of it we were going to cook, and just to have it, and then we were done with it, we were done. He made, instead of making 3 or 4 pies, he made 1 of each. Like, he really scaled it down. And so I was like, okay, cool. And so Thanksgiving was better than I had in the past where you just eat till you pass out. No. So Thanksgiving was okay. We hosted Christmas Eve at my house. And Christmas Eve is we make certain dishes and then everybody just brings whatever to add to the thing, and it's a whole big, get together. And oh boy, wheels fell off and rolled around. It was a huge challenge for me to say, okay, I'm just going to have, or I'm not going to have whatever. And so I relaxed myself a bit and just kind of, I still made choices, but I was like, oh yeah, it's the holidays. I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do it. It's the holidays. We're with the loved ones. We're having a good time. The things we always say. The difference now is that I don't have some of these processed foods on a regular basis. And so my system had a little conversation with me like, girl, what are you doing? And so I felt the difference. Now my knee didn't start hurting and nothing reversed where I can't fit the pants anymore. Like, none of that happened. It's not like an instant, my mind goes into the Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy when the serum wears off and he just goes back to Sherman and he's just, pop, 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 all over the place. None of that happened. But what the instant thing that happened is my body couldn't handle it. I didn't feel well. I didn't sleep well. So the short term result was, yeah, you can't handle this anymore. Your body doesn't process it like it used to. Where before maybe I just felt so full that I would just like fall asleep. You get the itis and you fall asleep and take a nap. I didn't get the itis. I got the and so I just wasn't feeling well, and then I didn't sleep well. And so it took a couple times though, because the first, I kind of let it roll. I was on winter break from my job, and so I'm just like, it's winter break. I'm breaking. I'm kicking it. And yeah, it was kicking it all right in my stomach. And so one of the pitfalls is, how do I navigate, which still unpacking that, how do I navigate, you know, huge get togethers where there's different kinds of food, how do I do that? I don't have that down pat yet. I can go to a birthday party and not have cake. I can say no thank you, or things like that. I can do that. But when it's like just this overwhelm and it's all good and it's like, man, this is delicious, I haven't quite navigated that. So going forward, because they're going to come again, there's always some sort of gathering to go to. And so now I really have to be intentional and really make some decisions and have, my husband is my, accountability. We'll have a conversation or we'll talk or we'll, kind of agree on some things. So I really need to lean in more, to him. And we're not each other's food police by no stretch of the imagination, but definitely having that talk with like, hey, if there's this there, I may struggle because I have to acknowledge it. I'm not this super person that can, just, da, 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 I'm stronger than, I'm not even going to front like that. But I can acknowledge that there are foods that I just absolutely love and want to eat. And maybe I just don't eat a lot of it. I think that's the struggle. You can have it, but why having so much? This is me talking to me, not me judging somebody else. And so I know that it's something that I need to um, continue to unpack and examine and say, okay, pitfall, fell right in, but I got back up, dusted myself off, and I live to eat another meal. And so it's not, um, old mindset was, I have just derailed everything, so forget it. I'm just gonna go back to, well, I guess I'm just gonna be this. And that's what's different about this time is that I'm not doing that. I'm not condemning myself and then still going back to that all or nothing mentality where, oh, if I ate this one meal that was, I didn't stick to the plan, or it was processed and I had processed food, so I must just, throw everything out the window and just, go back to my old ways. No, I don't have to do that. And so recognizing that while I'm still unpacking and learning and identifying um, what works for me is okay. So I can be totally fine. I can say, you know what, girl, that wasn't the best choice. And I get myself together from a gastrointestinal standpoint and I move on. And I go on to the next meal and get back on track with my planning and having, again, this is a lifestyle for me. It's not a program that I'm doing. It's not a race that I'm running to get to a finish line. It is a lifestyle that I am creating for myself, that I'm internalizing. And in that, there's ups and downs, it ebbs and it flows. And those are the things that I'm taking hold to and making sure that I am not keeping hold of that all or nothing mentality where it's either I do all of it or I do none of it. Because that doesn't serve me well. It doesn't serve my body well. And so the one thing I wanted to, I wrote this down. I want to make sure I talk about it. Um, the steps. So going up and down stairs, super challenge. Like get to the top and you talk about, don't ask me no questions. I can't say my name. I'm huffing and puffing and, and trying to look like I'm not out of breath, which makes it look like you're even more out of breath. It's weird. But now to just go up and down a flight of stairs, even in my home, going from downstairs upstairs to my bedroom was, you talk about holding on to the railing and it's probably 12 stairs and I'm about falling over at the top. But now I can go upstairs, no problem going to bed. And again, not breaking news. And to some of you, like, stairs? Yes, stairs. But it's something that I do now that, comparatively speaking, I couldn't do before. Like debilitating knee pain, pain at every bend of my knee. And then coming down the stairs, I was going sideways and taking dope, going down, one step at a time like a toddler. It was a mess. But now I'm just walking down the steps, not even holding onto the railing, and it feels good, and I know it's because of those healthy choices and the lifestyle that I'm creating. And so, not thinking about this like it's a game, not leaning in and saying, "Oh, what's the number that I'm trying to get to?" There's a number that once I get that number, I'm set. No, none of those things are true right now, and um, not not just condemning myself if there's, wow, oh, you had cake, that's it, it's over for you. Absolutely not. It's not over for me at all. And so those types of things, and keeping that mindset, and putting that at the forefront is important. And the most important thing that I haven't mentioned yet, and that was on purpose, the most important thing that I had to do that was completely different than I did before is that I invited God into this process. I invited him. Before, again, I was working a program. I was following the rules. I was doing this, doing what's the formula? How do I do this? It was all me thinking, calculating, moving, being strategic. And I think I mentioned when I did a program before, I had to weigh in every week. I wore the same clothes every time I weighed in, the same outfit every single time. And I would not eat until I weighed in. What in the world? Why would I do that to myself? That's what I did. Because it was a game. Got the same outfit on, it weighs the same. If I don't eat, nothing's in my belly. And so, I'm not doing that anymore. It was a bondage for me. For me, it was a bondage. And so I'm no longer binding myself in that way. And so to be free, I had to invite God in and say, okay, God, it's me and you in this. Actually, it's you in this. And I need to refer and defer to you, and you have to help me, because when those temptations come, I've literally had to pray myself through them, because if not, I'm, I'm leaning on my own understanding. I'm doing what I want to do. I'll forget it. I might as well. I can't take it, and you just give in. But literally surrendering this part of my life to God. And I'd never done that before, because it's food. Girl, it's food. Are you really talking to God about food? I am. And am. Because it is something that has a stronghold over me, and I need to release that to him. I needed to release it to him and invite him into the process. And the one thing that the book is showing me is that the true power to change comes from God. It doesn't come from me. I'm powerless. But when I lean in and surrender and acknowledge that, Lord, I need you even in this. In all my ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct my path. All my ways of eating, my ways of thinking, my ways of planning, as it relates to my lifestyle of eating. Acknowledge those, and then he will direct me and tell me which way I need to go and how I need to move and groove. That has been the common thread through this, while I'm still unpacking and getting closer to who he's calling me to be in this area of my life. Again, there's several things on the table that I could endless. I'm human. We're human. So we have a lot of things that we could work on. I'm sure you could off rip, if I gave you 10 seconds, you could name 10 things that you want to work on. And when we name those 10 things, then we're overwhelmed and, oh my goodness, how can I? It won't. And then we stay stuck and we don't make a move forward at all. But identifying that one thing, Lord, what's the one thing that I could work on is going to impact other things. And for me, it was a healthy lifestyle. Because if I have mobility, if I feel better in my body, if I'm sleeping well, then those things impact my ability to do the other stuff. So it's like a root cause for me. If I don't feel well, if I'm lethargic, if I can't walk, I'm not trying to do anything. Like running errands, please, getting in and out of a car to go to this store or do this and that. I dreaded that. And not that I want to spend all day hopping in and out of the car, especially not in Cleveland in January. But I can do it. Before, I couldn't do it, and it was a chore. But now I can do it. Physically can. If I want to. If I need to. And so inviting him into this process and allowing him to speak to me and slowing down and not being so tied to a timeline and a deadline. Because that, for me, was the undoing of my success. And so my success is not measured by a scale. It's not measured by a size in my clothes. It's not measured by what somebody else validating me. Now, I'll take a good compliment now. I'm not above it. Don't get it twisted. But it's not what I look for. It's not what I'm seeking after. It's a bonus. And so, as I go along and, people notice. And so, my eyes are, how they say you're nose blind to things, and I think I'm eye blind to myself, because even though you put the clothes on and they fit different and you fit things you didn't fit before, you still may not see it when you look at yourself in the mirror, or, as you just don't see it. But to hear others just recognize, and, I just, a simple thank you. And it really just, I don't get validation from it, but it is a nice little, okay. I'm human. You want to be, if you're in relationship with people, it's your friends, family, coworkers, your spouse or significant other, and they, tell you that, oh, I never noticed or whatever, it does make you feel good. You do want that. I'm not immune or not. I don't, shun it or anything like that. I welcome but I'm not soliciting it or trying to manufacture it. That's the difference. That is the 100% difference for me. And again, it doesn't mean you're not in community with people. It doesn't mean that you're not sharing with a close-knit group of folks. I'm not a secret squirrel over here. Nobody knows, what's going on. But it's definitely something that I'm intentional about and I pay attention to, so that I don't flip my switch and then that becomes my motivation. My motivation is I need to internalize this, so it is just naturally who I am. It is a part of my lifestyle. It is not a game. It is not a program that I'm doing. It is literally who I'm becoming. And that is the part that I am so excited about as I just move further and further into this, to where it just becomes, it's no longer separate. Like it's a natural part of my decision making process, and that takes time. It takes time to create those habits. It takes time to develop that, and so that's where I am. I'm in the developing stage where I'm not where I was before. But just being intentional and really taking it slow. And it's nice. It's nice. And so my next steps are getting back into the gym. And so now I think I've done this long enough where I'm like, okay, I can incorporate some workout sessions at the gym. Not going crazy, because that's never my that's never my goal. To be in there, just, burning every muscle, but being intentional and strategic on what I need to do that's going to, again, serve me well, because although my knee feels better there is some, over time damage that's there, and I can't just, be jumping all around like a crazy person. I do have to be mindful of that. So being intentional, making sure I get that in and start to incorporate it. So again, it's a part of who I am. And so I have finally found a pair of workout shoes. That's a whole, me and tennis shoes is a whole other separate thing that my poor husband, I can't even get into right now. But found the perfect pair of workout shoes for me where I could throw my old ones away that between me and you had no tread on the bottom. But I love them. They were the best pair of workout shoes that I'd found. And they just served me well. But those babies were like smooth on the bottom. I said, I can't. I was messing around and slip and fall trying to wear these. And so those are out with the old and with the new. And so I'm ready. I'm ready to go into the gym. Yes, it's going to feel like I'm one of those persons that, the gym is full of these new people. I am she. And I'll be in there, but I won't be new for long. And if you think I'm new or not, I don't care about that. But so that's what's next, on the horizon for me. And as I'm still unpacking, this part of my lifestyle journey as far as health is concerned. And I probably will never arrive. And I'm comfortable with that because on this side, in creating this lifestyle for myself, is really, really, it is, I don't even have a word for it yet, but it's, I don't have a word for it, but it is, I'm unpacking it right now, and so I don't have to have a word for it. And so I'm just excited. I was excited to just start this year off with, it's just me talking and sharing out of my experience, hopefully encouraging you that, hey, pick one thing and focus on that. You don't have to do all a master of none. Pick one thing and focus on it and do it well. Invite God in. Invite him into the process. Nothing is too small. God cares about, it says he cares about, he's numbered the hairs on our head. So that means he cares about us. He cares about everything that happens to us. So whatever that one thing you pick that you want to change, invite him into the change. And then surrender it to him. And watch him work. And it takes as long as it takes. If you got a timeline and you trying to, let me see, if you trying to get into your reunion dress for your high school reunion by June, and it's already January, maybe this ain't for you. Or maybe it is, I don't know. But don't frustrate yourself. Don't frustrate yourself with the process. Pick one thing, commit to it, invite God into it, surrender it to him, and watch him work. Watch him work. And celebrate the small things. Celebrate the small wins. That is what keeps you going. It's the small wins. Again, none of this is earth-shattering or new, breaking news, but it's something that I have just started to internalize, and it's personal for me. And so I just wanted to come in front of you all and just share it, and just, I am super excited about what is on the horizon for this platform for this year. Launching this YouTube channel, still being able to have it on, the other podcast platforms where you can listen to it or watch it. Just to have the YouTube interactions. I'm excited for that, but I'm just excited to be continuing to do this. This was a thought in my mind. This was a thought deposited to me. God gave this podcast to me. And so for me to walk it out and now starting a whole second year or second season of it is crazy to me, but it is amazing. And so I'm excited to share out of my life and the lives of people who are going to come and sit and talk and open up about a whole bunch of different stuff. If you've listened to last season, you know we talk about any and everything. Um, and so that part is what I'm looking forward to, and really bringing it, to you, and just giving you an opportunity to connect to me and learn a little bit more about Sinitra Skillern. I am on all socials at this point. I even got a TikTok. I said I was never doing TikTok ever, but I have a TikTok. It is CC Skills. So CC is spelled out CeeCeeskillz. That is also my Instagram, CC Skills. I am Sinitra Skillern on Facebook, and yeah. And Epic Experiences is also on Facebook and Instagram. It's everywhere. It's a lot happening over here, but it's all good. Glory to God, it's all good. And so I thank you for listening to me, and I hope to see you next time on the next episode of Epic Experiences. Take care, y'all. Bye bye.